Eric Muathe at Muathe.com. It is the market open of August 9th, 2016. As you can see here, we are seeing a slight move in some of the stocks that we were watching. Oil and gas here moving about 10-15%. Some of them are starting the day with a nice showing. And I want to go and do a follow-up video based on the previous analysis that we need to wait for at least a fresh breakout on the weekly or on the daily chart. So most of these charts here, if you can pause the video, you'll see that they come from the oil and gas sector, the stocks that are starting the day with a nice move. Now, I need to qualify something here because I got a couple of questions, actually a question asking specifically whether we can go back into the names now that they are positive for the day. Now keep in mind, we need them to break out above the recent daily closing high. Okay, and here the qualification is very simple. You need at least 2 days of rest, at least 2 days of rest on the daily chart before any future breakout for this to be considered a fresh breakout. So we've had already one down day and another down day below the previous daily closing high. So what you do is consider your closing high as day number 1, and then you need day number 2 to be down below day number 1's close. You need day number 3 to be down below the close of day number 1. So this is it's a simple distinction, but it's very important. So day number 1 is your closing high. You need day number 2 to be below day number 1's closing. You need day number 3 to be below day number 1's closing, and then after that, any breakout, which is day number 4 onwards, is what we consider a fresh breakout after at least 2 days of rest on the daily. So that's very important to understand that. And if you take a look at the weekly as an example, if you go to the weekly of this chart, if you are to play this on a weekly chart, you need at least 2 days of rest. And so what I can do here is take a look at another stock in the sector. You can see that this is the recent weekly closing high of last week. So now if you want to play this on a weekly chart, you have to wait for another down week below last week's closing high. So again, week number 1 is considered your closing high there, the weekly closing high, not the intraday high, but the weekly closing high. And then number 2 is this week, because we are now below week number 1's closing. We need another closing week below this closing high. In other words, it can be a positive gain for the week, but it should close below Friday's close. And then now on the 4th week onwards, it could be 4th week, 5th week, 6th week, 7th week, who cares, but it should be at least on the 4th week onwards that you can consider that a fresh breakout. So if you truly want to play this correctly, you can either play the daily breakout after 2 days of rest, or the weekly breakout after 2 weeks of rest. And it's a simple but very critical distinction, because you don't want to play a continuation of this move, because if it breaks out, for example, if this was to break out today, which is day number 3, then it would not be a fresh breakout, it would be a continuation of this breakout. So if you want to have your stock to have legs, you need to insist on 2 days of rest on the daily chart or 2 weeks of rest on the weekly chart. So having said all that, you'll take a look at all these stocks here. Let's take a look at them, and you can see that depending on how they're trading, all of them need another day down. All of them need a day number 3 down before they can break out. 1 or 2 of them could be trying to break out, but all these are resting on the 3rd day, which is what you need. So let's take a look if there's one that's breaking out. So all of this could be breakout candidates as of tomorrow on a daily chart. On a weekly, you'd have to wait for another 2 weeks. And just trying to see which ones could be moving here. And there's one here, PBR, which, by the way, this is day number 4. On this one, day number 4 possibility. And so we can see here that the daily closing high about 4 days ago was during this daily close there, and that was at 5.26. Earlier in the morning, the first couple minutes of trading, it was above 5.26, so it was attempting a breakout. Now you can buy this because it's going to be day number 4 if it can move above 5.26. The theory here is you hold it as long as it is above 5.26 and see what happens. If it moves back below 5.26, then that is signs of a failed breakout. But essentially, because we've seen 2 days below 5.26, any breakout now is legit on the daily. And that's how you time this thing. So this one would be a buy above 5.26 if anybody wants to play this sector. Take a look at the other names and you can see they are still resting, which is what would be the minimum requirement. All of these seem to be resting, and so otherwise you don't touch them until they break out, if they break out at some point. So here, even though we are seeing some of them opening higher for the day, they are not breaking out on a daily chart other than that one name. So you can set your alerts after 2 days of rest. Again, we come back to the beginning. Let's go to the last one here on the list. You can see this was the daily closing high at about 620 and change. So after 2 days, if we include today's close, if it closes below this weekly close, this daily closing high, if it closes today being the 3rd day, if we end up anywhere below this daily closing high at 6.2, somewhere around there, then any future breakout as of tomorrow would have the stock fully rested and ready to move higher if it breaks out. So you don't buy them unless they're breaking out. And if they're to break out, you need 2 days of rest minimum on the daily, 2 weeks of rest minimum on the weekly, and on the monthly, you need at least 1 month of rest minimum. Eric Muathe, Muathe.com. As always, good luck, peace, and blessings. ESCS.